So CHW Cellars, we started in October 2023, which was an interesting time to start a business in the fine wine space. But quite frankly, we kind of thought if you've got a good idea, you can start at any point, really. So it's three of us. It's myself, John, and we have an employee up in Scotland called Andrew. So we're a fine wine focused business, fine wine and spirits. Our background as a team is always in that space and private client facing, opposed to really sort of on trade or investment focused. We really like to deal with people who drink the product. I think a lot of people over the years have come very hung up on investment and building collections that purely for investment and not actually enjoying the product. And so we really wanted to focus our energies on the people who wanted to just build great wine collections. And not to say we don't understand that people don't buy our product for investment. You know, you'd be silly not to. But I think the fundamental reasons as to why someone should start a wine collection is the passion for the product. And that's what we try and get across to our clients. But I think, you know, at the face of it is working directly with private clients to try and find them rare and eclectic fine wines, things that other people aren't offering. So unlike a lot of the big agencies, we import our wines from Europe, and it's not tied to any other sort of other products. So, for example, if you want to buy Domaine Remedy Conti, you don't have to buy Domaine Remedy Conti and 15 other different wines. You can just buy Domaine Remedy Conti. So yeah, that's really us in a nutshell. We're both stock holding, but also broking. And I think broking often gets a bad word in the wine industry. People think that sort of broking people running fast and loose and just, you know, doing, you know, selling whatever they have, whatever they can get their hands on. I mean, we have a really good network of suppliers that we've worked with for 10 years plus. We only work with a smaller number of suppliers, so we're not spreading ourselves too thin. And we also know exactly who we're dealing with. So what we're able to do, and I think what broking allows us to do, is not firstly be tied down to specific products. If we see something that we like, we can offer it to our clients. That offers us a much larger breadth of stock, basically. You know, you're not pigeonholed into a certain area. So when people say, what do you specialize in? You know, yes, we sell more Burgundy and Bordeaux than anything else. But saying that, we also sell some really cool Spanish stuff, some really good Italian wines. We just sold some old vintage Chartreuse. You know, we sell, you know, we have a massive pot to pick from. And we only put in front of our clients what we think is worth buying, opposed to having to really rely, you know, a lot of people with big stock holdings at the moment just need to get rid of the stock. It doesn't necessarily that they love the stock that they're selling, they just need to get rid of it. So we only put in front of our clients really what we think they should be buying, not opposed to sort of what we have to sell. The other benefit I'd say from a financial point is, you know, particularly over the last 18 months, as fine wine prices have come down, our prices have come down. So, you know, we're able to, you know, our clients are able to benefit from that decrease in price, opposed to being sort of tied to, if you've got a big stock holding, you're much more reticent to decrease your pricing because that means you're not going to make any money. So, you know, what we're able to do is as our pricing is very dynamic, you know, we'll get through an offer in the morning. We'll look at the exchange rate, we will add our margin, and that is the price that the client gets. So, you know, from day to day, they're going to see the changes in wine pricing. I think why we've been able to weather the storm, I think, better than others is firstly that our client base are drinkers. So, you know, they're high net worth, ultra high net worth individuals who always drink great wine. And if the price comes down, okay, that's great. But if the price goes up a little bit more, they're also going to still buy and drink. You know, that's not going to change. That's the constant. And I think, you know, we haven't seen, you know, if we had a big reliance on investment, you know, we haven't seen, say, you know, I think in some cases people have seen 60% of their revenue disappear overnight because people have been like, do you know what? We're not investing anymore. We actually want to start selling. but you're now trying to sell in a buyer's market. And it's a really, really hard place to be. So they're then sitting on a lot of stock, and they're trying to find those customers who are actually drinking. So I think, in that instance, we've weathered the storm a little bit better. And also with the market going down, we're able to pick and choose what we're able to offer our clients rather than being focused on specific things. So by all means, it's not been an easy 18 months from a learning perspective of starting a company, but from the market's been the toughest it's been in 30 years. Not that I remember the wine market 30 years ago particularly, but it's not been an easy run. But I think the market is changing fundamentally. I think we saw a massive boom in the last 10 years where as an asset class per se, it's like suddenly become very prominent, and a lot of retail investors have gone into it. I think we're going to see more of a shift back to what wine is there for, and people are appreciating for what it is and drinking it. I've thought a lot about technology and being a startup and our industry over the last couple of years, and I think a lot of people are trying to find completely new ways of selling wines to people, and be it algorithms, be it trading platforms, be it all of these different types of stuff. And I actually see technology in a slightly different way. I see it, let's stick to the fundamentals of wine, which is buying wine and selling wine, but use technology to make that process simpler. And instead of being sort of an innovative, new wave company that's looks more like a crypto trading platform than a wine company, you use that technology and you invest in the back office side, and that makes your customers' experience a lot simpler. They may not see it straight away, but it means that you can buy wine, import wine, pay bills a lot faster than you used to. You don't have to invest quite so heavily in people. Well, people are incredibly important, but with using the hub, we are able to manage the logistics, manage the accounting, and then obviously we use Xero as well. But the fact it integrates so well with Xero is a huge plus point, because quite frankly, we are wine people. I'm not an accountant, I'm not a logistics manager, but although we have experience in both of those sectors in this industry, the hub makes it easier to understand. The second thing I would say why we took it on from the beginning, firstly, we had experience with it in prior companies that we worked for, but also we have ambitions to enlarge our team, bring on more people, and the hub makes that simple. It's easy for people. It's much easier. It's much more what's the word I'm looking for, intuitive using the hub than it is explaining how to use Xero. It also, if you're taking on people, you don't really want them messing around with Xero. So just to have something completely separate, and the information flows from hub to Xero rather than Xero to hub, it means that there's that sort of church and state, as it were. There's that differentiation between the two. So I think as we grow, we've got the structure in place to be able to do that. And the hub has been able to provide that sort of peace of mind. I mean, for example, one of the things that I didn't even really realize it did so well was stock transfer. And we create an SO or a PO on the hub, perfectly integrated, and raises a stock transfer on Xero. And if you had to do that manually, it's going to take so much time. And our bookkeepers aren't going to be doing that. And if they were, it was going to cost us a lot more money. So actually, I do think in the long term, it's going to offer a lot of savings. And I think also, in a world where we're off working remotely, it's something that is just more and more important, to have something easy and concise to use. I mean, the more and more I get used to it, the more capabilities I know that it has. So, for example, at the moment, we don't have an online portal for our clients on our website. But I know at some point, we are aiming to do that, and we have the capabilities there already. All we've got to do is then integrate the hub with our website, and pay for the add-on. It's incredibly useful. And I say one of the things that I have noticed about it, it was something that's missing in the space, like to small to medium sized businesses. So I would say, you know, things like the hub now, it makes being a small to medium sized company so much easier, because I don't think there are any particularly wine centric platforms on the market.